Hey guys, today we're going to do something different with this roundup style of paddle impressions. I've built up quite the backlog, and for a lot of these paddles, when people ask me about them in person, I can give them a solid 60-second elevator pitch that gives them a good idea of the paddle. But for me to translate all that into video content form, that unfortunately takes me a while to do. So I figured, why don't I try a video style where I go over multiple paddles at a high level overview in under 60 seconds per paddle. This won't have any deep dive into tech or numbers, it will strictly just be a quick summary of thoughts in a short amount of time. All right, let's test this out and see what you guys think. Let's start with the carbon TruFoam waves. Now this is going to come in the same shapes as the Genesis line, so 14mm foam paddles in their 4 shapes, with shapes 1 through 3 being pretty heavy while the 4 is lighter. The foam itself is slightly different as it uses a wave-like structure as shown in the image. While it's advertised as the power version of the TruFoam lineup, it's basically the same as the Genesis. The main difference is that the paddle flexes in more when you hit the ball, but only if you can consistently hit the sweet spot. The sweet spot is smaller on this lineup compared to other foam paddles on the market, which is tough because other than the 4, the shapes already come in with high swing weights, leaving little room for customization. This also isn't a power paddle either. It's more high all court like their previous Genesis line. Basically, this paddle is for those who wanted more paddle flex in the face compared to the Genesis and a touch more power output. Not a super exciting release from them, but still a solid paddle with a unique feel that you won't see on other foam paddles. For the next paddle, we'll look at the Pakle Evo Pro, which we've covered briefly before on this channel. This is a Gen 3 style paddle, though the second foam layer doesn't go all the way around the paddle edges, but instead it has foam going in through the middle. Honestly, this is a very solid Gen 3 alternative to the Pro 4s. The overall firepower is up there with the Pro 4s, but it provides a different feedback. This new foam location makes the paddle less hollow feeling, though it still has that stiff feel. It's basically just a Pro 4 Perseus in terms of overall stats, but just a slightly different feel and a lower price tag. A solid power paddle option for those of you that don't enjoy hollow feeling paddles. The next paddle is another Gen 3, and that's the Facolos Elite X from Vietnam. From what I've been told, this is a Gen 3 that uses the diving board style of foam in the second layer, and it comes in 14 and 16mm options, but I only got the 16mm. Now the one I received came very light, with a twist weight of 5.65 and swing weight of 113, making this well below average for measurements for an elongated paddle. It's similar to a Franklin C45 where it comes very light out of the box and really needs weight, but unfortunately, even with weight, the Elite X isn't as nice as the C45s. The feel was stiff and nothing spectacular, and to be honest, it felt more like a Gen 2 than a Gen 3. Now this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I just didn't see any power on the paddle, and even after spending more time with it, the paddle just felt like a stiff feeling all-court style Gen 2. Unfortunately, not as good or interesting of a Gen 3 option compared to the Cyclic Triton 3. Alright, now the Dynasty Foam Legend. This is an elongated 16mm paddle with a floating foam core with 2 layers of carbon fiber at the top followed by 2 layers of fiberglass. For initial impressions, these felt much stiffer than most of the other floating foam core paddles I hit, and they felt similar to the Rhombus Refoam. But after a few sessions, the face does soften up more, and it gets more of a pleasant feedback. I didn't feel the paddle really open up for power, but I'd place this in the all-core category. Even though it has 2 fiberglass layers, they sit below the carbon fiber, and in my playtest, you don't really feel them as much, and wouldn't be able to tell that the paddle did contain fiberglass layers. I would describe this as a slightly softer version of the Enhanced 4.5. It's more muted and the power level is a step under it, but overall is a very solid, elongated, all-court style foam paddle in the market. Next, let's look at Pickle Poppers, a brand from South Korea. They've got some fun designs on their paddles that give some bread and butter vibes, but in terms of how they play, they're basically Gen 2 thermoform paddles. The blue one is just an elongated Gen 2 with carbon fiber, while the orange one is basically a bread and butter Fat Boy clone with the Kevlar in the surface. While it is nice to see other countries start making paddles, these are going to be outdated with the majority of the market now trending towards full foam and foam enhanced paddles. These will have that stiffer and lighter feel of a Gen 2, and the power output leans more towards the control side of today's game. They're not bad paddles at all, but just outdated in today's market, when many established Gen 2 paddles have already released. But if you do enjoy their design or are local to South Korea, then you might be interested in these. Alright, now the Thrive Project Fury, in my opinion, the best performing paddle on this list. It's been covered by several others already, but in a nutshell, this is a hybrid shaped Evo Pro 4. Though there are some small differences, such as it being slightly thinner at 15.5 millimeters instead of 16, and having a layer of fiberglass on the surface, so it's poppier and more lively than the Pro 4 series. The Pro 4s also don't have a hybrid paddle option, so the Fury takes that spot in the market. Plus, it's cheaper than the Pro 4s, and you can select your swing weight preferences at checkout. There are also other shapes planned, making this a very fantastic option and a very easy recommendation for anyone in search of a hybrid Gen 3 performance power paddle. Now, the last paddle we'll cover will be the 60 Ruby Pro, which I picked up during my factory visit to China. It uses some new tech such as a diamond-infused surface, which lengthens the lifespan of the grit, a new power gel adhesive between the core and the surface, and a shock shield inserts to reduce vibrations. But at its core, this is mainly a 14mm hybrid Gen 2 thermoform paddle that uses a wider 12mm cell size. The biggest thing you feel for playability is the flex and dwell of the paddle, which is very surprising for a 14mm. It lets you grab the ball well for high spin and offers great control. I would describe this paddle as the honeycomb version of the Carbon Waves. While not an exact one-to-one match with the Waves, it does provide a very similar dwell and flex, and to be honest, I do think it's a better performing paddle compared to that, and I would take it over the Waves. It's got a more consistent sweet spot, has more customization options, and has a better performance profile. However, it does have a less durable core from using honeycomb, less shape options, but compared to the TruFoam 4 from Carbon, I would take the Ruby Pro over it. Now for today's product of the week, we are going to look at the new Courtside Bag. I actually bought this bag a few months back during a local pickleball event where I saw it on display and thought it was a pretty cool concept. Basically, it's a bag that also transforms into a chair. You just unzip the back and fold it out, and now you got a chair you can use when you sit on the courts. This chair also comes apart too. You just unclip this here, and now you have a standalone chair and a bag. To put it back, simply just clip the chair back in, reattach the Velcro, and zip the back up. As for the rest of the bag, it's got one main compartment for paddles and other gear. For me, I usually just shove 5 paddles inside since I'm usually hitting a lot of paddles side by side, but if you just pack 1 or 2, you can also fit other items such as your laptop or shoes in here. There are also a few other compartments where you can hold other small items, so that's where I'll hold my keys, wallets, overgrips, scissors, and tape. Overall, a very solid bag where you have a 2-in-1 option of a high-quality bag and a portable chair. It's not the most spacious bag out there and doesn't have as many features as some of the more high-end ones, but it's definitely still a quality bag for those of you that aren't packing as many items. I see it as a very solid bag to use for outdoor courts where seating is more limited, and definitely recommend checking it out. Alright, that's it for this first test run of 60-second impressions. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. This is a format that can really speed up my workflow, so if you guys enjoy it, I can create more of these videos and get more content out at a faster pace and be able to cover a lot more smaller brands. If there are any paddles listed that you do have any more in-depth questions about, drop a comment below or shoot me a message and I'll do my best to get back to you. Also, if you guys do want to support this channel and pick up any of these paddles, I've added discount codes and links in the video description below where you guys can pick them up. Alright, catch you guys in the next video.